What you do, honey? Break a fingernail? In a miscalculated effort at veteran solidarity, I once made the mistake of telling a Vietnam veteran that I too was a disabled veteran. That was the response I got. What you do, honey? Break a fingernail? Of course, that abruptly ended our conversation before I broke one off on him. I get it. I don't exactly look the part. If there had been a category in my senior yearbook for most likely not to join the military, I probably would have been a contender. In the late 90s, about the closest I got to considering the military was borrowing my younger brother's oversized cargo pants from the Army-Navy surplus store and pairing them with midriff tees, Doc Martens, chokers, and Cinnaberry hair, a la Claire Danes in My So-Called Life. But life's a long time, and I think my brother is ultimately to blame for sowing the seeds of enlistment. He read too many books about SEALs in high school and joined the Marine Corps soon after graduation. Later, he would go on to the Naval Academy. I've always treated my younger brother like an experimental guinea pig, and observing his enlistment in the military was no different. I was surprised to find that there were clear advantages to signing away a few years of your life, especially when you're trying to repay $45,000 in student loan debt on a teacher's salary. And let's be frank, no older sister wants her younger brother to have one up on her. But I intended to be much smarter because there was no way in hell I was joining the Marine Corps. That's for people with something to prove. So I quit my high school teaching job, finished my master's degree, and decided to join the military. One of my history professors had given me the idea to become an Arabic linguist. So I drew up a list of questions and began interviewing recruiters. That last part wasn't so popular. I would cold call the recruiter, inform him of my desire to become an Arabic linguist, and then proceed to ask him 2 typed pages of questions. I think I decided on the Navy because the recruiter snottily asked me, "How do I even know you're going to pass the ASVAB?" That stands for Armed Forces Vocational Aptitude Battery, like the SAT for the military. I think I gave him a look like, "Are you even smart enough to be my recruiter?" Then I headed to the next city to deal with his boss. Of the 6 years I spent in the Navy, I think the most valuable lessons were learned in the first 8 weeks during boot camp. I remember a work colleague telling me to let him know when I had my "what the fuck was I thinking" moment. It came quickly. At 28 years old, waking up that first morning to get the fuck up and get on the tow line. After being awake for 36 hours previously, well, what the fuck was I thinking was the least of it. I felt like I had been mistakenly trapped in an alternative reality, a teacher's nightmare of sorts, one where the students were suddenly in charge. In boot camp, I bunked in one large barracks room with 79 other women. I hit the tow line at Reveille with 79 other women. I undressed, showered, and redressed in 10 minutes with 79 other women. I exercised to the point of muscle failure with 79 other women. No matter what I did, I was constantly surrounded by 79 other women. I've never been around so much estrogen in my entire life. Afterward, when I would describe this experience to some men, they would have weird notions that I was stuck for 8 weeks at the Bunny Mansion. Sexy shower scenes, titties galore, dumbasses. Instead, it was more like the opening shower scene of Orange is the New Black. Minus shower curtains and individual showers. I had left home and gone adrift on a sea of raw female humanity. Trust me, it's as scary as it sounds. While I initially attempted to navigate the sea incognito, I had no such luck. Females have a bad habit of prejudging each other, and boot camp is no different. Within the first couple of days, some 18-year-old from rural Louisiana decided that she didn't like me. And of course, as fate would have it, she was given a leadership position. In those early weeks, the RDCs, or Recruit Division Commanders, also known as drill instructors, thought it was entertaining to just put random people in charge. The youngest, the oldest, the tallest, the shortest, you get the idea. I finally knew why my teachers had made me read Animal Farm and Lord of the Flies in high school. In the fashion of Stalinist Russia, Louisiana reported me to the drill instructors for talking in the shower. What the hell? Maybe I had said excuse me to avoid some awkward bump and grind in the gang showers. After all, we were packed in there, ass to tit. But damn, I hadn't been in trouble for inappropriate talking since the first grade. And so I found myself in the first group that got smoked in boot camp. In other words, made an example of through extremely vigorous, prolonged exercise. We had all received our rubber stamp earlier in the day when we cleared medical, meaning we might be emotionally scarred for the rest of our lives, but the Navy didn't think we would drop over dead from a heart attack anytime soon. So myself, along with a half dozen other chatty Cathys, got to work out, while everyone else stood and watched. Now I'm predisposed to that slow burn kind of pissed, so I mustered up my best resting bitch face and stared down Louisiana as we went from jumping jacks to push-ups to burpees to running mans and so on and so forth until exhaustion. Unfortunately, my bunkmate Texas could barely do any sit-ups. When I say barely any, I mean like one or two. Her recruiter had obviously lied on the physical fitness test she had to pass in order to go to boot camp. And this didn't faze the drill instructors. They had the brilliant idea that the rest of us were going to keep doing sit-ups until Texas magically developed ab muscles. If my first mistake of boot camp was speaking, my second mistake was thinking. Thinking that this whole scenario was a really dumb idea. So I decided to lock arms with Texas and do sit-ups for the both of us, all while the drill instructor was kneeling next to me and yelling in my ear, "Let her go!" But I stubbornly held on and proved my point, and by the end, the drill instructors made all the rest of the females join in, even Louisiana, and wouldn't you know it, she started crying a few minutes into exercising. Welcome to Psychological Fight Club, bitch. After that, I must have earned some boot camp cred because everyone started calling me Teach and saying things like, "Hey Teach, who are you going to school today?" I bumped between an ex-stripper from Detroit and an ex-gang member from LA. Both were seeking better options than where they came from. They were also very skeptical of a 28-year-old wonderbred ex-high school teacher from upstate New York. But the daily tasks of boot camp tend to break down these barriers rather quickly. You're all woken up in the middle of the night to iron the same granny panties. You're all crawling around on all fours with tube socks on your hands like human Swiffers. You're all sneaking off to the head for a power nap, leaning against the wall while sitting on the can. You're all snotting all over yourself coming out of the tear gas chamber. In boot camp, you also feel like you live in a cultural vacuum. No television, no newspapers, no magazines, no music. My mom used to send me newspaper clippings to keep me informed. My dad used to mail them in envelopes with fake return addresses, like Harvard Law School and the United States Naval Academy. You can imagine the drill instructor's reaction when they're passing out mail, and yours appears to be from these elite institutions. What, you're too fucking good for the rest of us, Shields? Thanks, Dad. I can remember getting one particular article from my mom about Eliot Spitzer's resignation as governor of New York due to a prostitution scandal. I'm thinking to myself, this is one hell of a civics lesson. I'm stuck in here scrubbing toilets with toothbrushes, and that jerk-off that I voted for last fall is out there banging call girls and screwing up the governorship. I call it player trade. Spitzer can come here and be surrounded by 79 pairs of titties, and I'll go to Albany and get some shit done. On Sundays, we earned a few hours of free time. Time to write letters home, time to take long Hollywood showers, and time to shave your legs, time to shine your boots, And when you're bunking with a bunch of girls from the hood, time to braid hair and perfect how to walk it out. 8 weeks without music is brutal, so we improvised. And unless you were listening to Southern Crunk in the mid-2000s, you won't know what the hell I'm talking about. I too required a quick hip-hop tutorial to bring me up to speed on the finer points of how to walk it out. Then I was designated East Side, naturally, and we proceeded to light up the barracks floor in our steel-toed combat boots. As I'm sure you know, the whole point of boot camp is to break down your individualism and build you back up into part of a cohesive unit. What boot camp really taught me is that we're all a lot more similar than we are different. That we came from different backgrounds in different parts of the country, but essentially had the same hopes and dreams, the same desire to better ourselves. Texas was working to obtain her citizenship through military service. Detroit was leaving the stripper pole behind to set a better example for her little girl. LA was escaping San Bernardino gang violence. Louisiana was using the military as an avenue to go to college. And me? I was just trying to avoid paying on my student loan debt into my 40s like my dad. The last day of boot camp, my shipmate from Detroit gave me a hug goodbye and said, "Teach, you're the only white girl I've ever met that I liked." Did I break a fingernail somewhere in there? Maybe. I wonder what Detroit would have to say about that. East Side, walk it out.